can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like $100,000.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Weiss here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders like the founders of P90X, Atari, many more, how they overcome big challenges in life and business. Our sponsor today is Rise25.com, which helps service professionals, doctors, lawyers, accountants, coaches, consultants, anyone's doing one-on-one client work. Stop just trading time for dollars and shift from one-to-one client work to one-to-many. It was founded by my business partner and myself, John Corcoran. We bring together like-minded entrepreneurs from different client-serving backgrounds. You can go to rise25.com, check it out. Dave, what people like is there's a dream product ladder. People can download it, and it basically helps you plan out your business on one sheet of paper. So there's different levels of untapped revenue in our business, maybe even over stockart.com. At different levels, they can come in at the smaller amount, buy smaller, or they buy a group of paintings for a larger amount. So there's missing pieces for people a lot of times in their business. But I'm excited today. I have David Sasson, who founded overstockart.com and artistb.com. Since founding overstockart.com in 2002, David's grown the company from its modest start, which we will talk about, to an international organization with offices located in 2 countries. They sell, what's interesting, it's hand-painted reproductions of famous paintings. And originally when I went to it, I'm like, oh, these are prints. But no, these are hand-painted reproductions. They've sold millions of oil paintings from its inception. David, thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. I'm excited to be here.
So what's the decision, Overstock Art? My initial thought was, oh, these were prints before I knew anything about Overstock Art. Why it seems way more labor-intensive, cumbersome to sell the hand-painted ones. And I looked, and surprisingly, they're very affordable. I thought they would be way more expensive. So why that opposed to the prints when you could just print them over and over?
Well, the print business is a much easier business. As a result, you have a lot more competition. Yeah. And, it's if you read the book Blue Ocean, it's a red ocean. It's a lot of competitors.
Red ocean, yes.
It's a dollar business, and we just felt that oil paintings is a very unique product. It brings to the customer the art the way the artist actually did it originally. It's an exciting product. You get it. You're so positively surprised. We have a lot of repeat business. And we just liked the opportunity and saw that there's an opportunity to buy it at a reasonable price and sell it to a consumer at a reasonable price and make a small profit. Yeah. And so it was just an exciting opportunity for us.
So how did you get the idea? Because I'm sure most people who are thinking of paintings or print, they would not have thought about hand-painted reproductions.
So the idea came to me from my youngest brother, who actually also works for us. Okay. He went and worked for a company that dealt with a similar product line, not exact, but they had hand-painted oil paintings. And he contacted me and said, well, why don't you check it out? So we bought a little bit of inventory and just looked at the art. And since I have no artistic talent, I looked at it and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And by the way, the quality of the product that we originally received on that first little order, it was very, very low. Today, we would not touch quality like this. Yeah. But today that we know the business very well, we understand quality, understand what it takes to have quality. And so, but that's what got us so excited. We saw an incredible product that not everybody have, assumed that we will not be alone. There is other competitors, but at the same time, there is an opportunity where the market is not very saturated. It's also a relatively difficult product to deal with. Prints, you just throw an image, you print. This is a much more difficult product, so it's difficult for competitors to come into the market. So we felt that that's a good thing too.
Is it difficult logistically with shipping? Because isn't it fragile?
It is not fragile.
Oh, it isn't.
It's extremely durable, actually.
Is it? Okay.
So shipping is not an issue. The difficulties are that it's a variety business. So I just talked today to a very good customer of ours that's been buying art from us. It's a regular homeowner, but he buys regularly, and so we chatted. Part of a project that I'm doing, finding more about our customers.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he told me, he said, I'd like to see more selection from you guys. And so I asked him, well, more specifically what? And he's like, well, I don't really know. I would just like to see more. And a lot of times that's what people say about art. I like to see more. I'd like to find other. And so it's a business that you have to have a lot of variety.
Yeah. Yet
the product is difficult to make. It takes a long time to make it, and you want to always have your bestseller in stock. So that process is difficult.
Yeah, very.
In the print world, you can throw a huge variety with just images, and then print as the customers are buying. You can't with oil paintings.
How long does it take them to do one?
It depends. There is a variety of dates depending on what oil paintings these are. But between 60 and 90 days, sometimes a little bit longer than that.
Do people ask for custom ones ever, or is that not an option?
Yeah, we do custom work. So, for example, if you had a picture of your family and it's in a really cool location on a trip, then we can reproduce that in oil. Or if you saw this work of art while you were traveling in Spain or somewhere, and you're like, "Man, I'd love to have it," we can reproduce that specifically for you. The cool thing about the custom process is that you're part of the quality control.
Yeah.
So we will send it to the studios, and then they send us an image, and we share that image with you and ask for your feedback. So not only do we do the quality control, we also get our customers involved in it. And it's a neat thing for customers because they're part of the creation of their own masterpiece.
Right.
So it's nice.
So what's been an unexpected bestseller? Because I go on there and there's, the Monets and the Van Goghs, and those are, ones that you'd expect. What are ones that when you put it out there or you talk to your customers that started selling?
It's there's a couple of things that I would say about this. The first one is I never came from the art world, so it was all unexpected to me to some degree. But sometimes we would have a painting that's dormant, that's selling, that's barely selling. And then something happens and it starts selling. So, for example, there was a movie that came out called Woman in Gold.
I've never heard of it.
And so since that movie came out a few years ago, that painting in our luxury line version, which is kind of using a gold foil, that painting sells like crazy. It sells. At first, we could not keep it in stock, and now it's usually in stock, but it just really flies, and it's very, very profitable too.
Yeah.
Another one, I don't know if you can see the work right behind me with the boats.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So the artist that created that is an artistb.com artist, an emerging artist. And not specifically this one, but some of her works have become bestsellers for us. And I never thought that an unknown artist would outsell Van Goghs and outsell Monets for us.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's so that was probably the biggest surprise.
What works, David, with selling more and with the marketing aspect? Like, certain people, a number of people are probably searching Monet, but I know you don't tend to sit back on your laurels and just let people come to you. What type of things do you do that really helps, sell more product on the website?
Certainly. So, in online marketing, close ratio is a huge thing. Everybody that's in e-commerce or some flavor of e-commerce is familiar with that. It is even greater if you're in an industry that's very, very visual, and if you're in an industry where the product is not a cookie cutter and not a commoditized product. So if a customer is looking for a certain digital camera by Canon that they've maybe seen in a retail store, they know exactly what they're going to get. The image is less important. It's a price game, right? If you come low on the price, you're going to get business. So oil paintings are hand painted. The image is key. Finding ways to inspire confidence and quality in the customer's mind is key. So doing a lot of work of making changes, seeing the results, seeing if sales are going up, conversions are going up, and helping customers get involved with the brand is really key. As far as marketing proper, just basically reaching out, still our number one way of selling is email, believe it or not.
Really?
Yep. Yeah. It's a number one channel. It's been like that for years. And for years we're hearing people say, well, email's going away. And ultimately maybe that's true. But it's still a producer. It is a great producer for us. Recently social media, we are investing more, especially in Facebook, but we are seeing it's an interesting dynamic because we're seeing a return, but it's not a direct return. So if you look at your Google Analytics, you're not seeing that we're getting our money back.
Sometimes hard to measure.
It's a hard one to measure, but we've noticed that our investments, there is a correlation between our investment in Facebook and sales, the sales growth.
What do you do with email that works?
I'm sorry?
What do you do with email that works? Like you said, email works really well.
Sure.
Are you putting a lot of images? Do you have someone who's dedicated? Do they write certain copy? What works with email?
A big thing that we notice that works with email is tying your promotion to an event. Mm-hmm. So obviously holiday season, the Black Friday, Cyber Monday promotions, obviously that's huge. But also Valentine's Day. Also, if a customer sees a 30% off offer, they're like, oh, yeah, okay, so they got some kind of a sale. But if they see inventory reduction, 30% off offer.
There's like a reason.
There's a reason. These guys are giving me a deal. It's a good time to buy. And so that's a big part of
that's
it.
Interesting.
Is tying it into something that speaks to the customer and rings true to the customer. Also, sending emails that provide some interest for them. So we are sending emails usually on Monday describing our deal of the day for the next week. So customers that are interested in looking at weekly deals on art, they're dialing into those emails, and our open rates are higher on those emails. So it's like a lot of things you have to test and you have to try and you have to kind of log what you're doing and what's successful and what's not. And you have to also understand that sometimes there is unexplained luck in it too.
I want to talk about growth. Before we got on, we were talking about growth, and you have certain ways of looking at growth, like how you're growing and the type of way you're looking at growth. How do you look at growth?
So there's a few things that we do that maybe is a little less common. A lot of entrepreneurs like to kind of pound it on their chest and say, our sales are X million and we've grown X percent. And that's great. Growth is really important. But we found that looking at your growth in your gross margin is more important than sales. And that growing with focus on our net profit and cash generation is more important than just growth for growth's sake. A company can grow itself out of business, or a company can grow and be in a weak position. And it's important to us to grow with a focus on the bottom line. Yeah. So we can say today, okay, let's grow our marketing budget by 50%. It will increase our sales. And there's no doubt it will. But will it do it profitably? If you can't do it profitably, you can't fund your own growth. Then you're resorting to either bringing partners, investors, or bringing the bank into the picture. And either one of those is going to take a piece in one way, shape, or form. And so to fund your own growth, we think is a critical way. And don't get me wrong, go to the bank and get help. That's necessary at a time that's really critical. But just be cautious with how you're spending that money, and make sure that your growth is, in my opinion, an incremental growth, while at the same time being profitable, is more impressive than just big explosive growth and losing money.
So was there a time you weren't focused as much on the bottom line as you are now?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. So for many years, our main focus was to see double-digit, triple-digit type growth, and we saw some nice, impressive years. And 2012 was a very, very strong year for us. We had nice growth at the beginning, incredible growth at the beginning, and we saw less growth and less profitability at the end. But it was mainly because we but we were unable to get product. We grew our sales so much that our suppliers could not keep up with us.
You're like, paint faster.
Yeah. So
it's tough. Yeah, because you're depending on like handmade works, you know?
Yeah. So we were running out of inventory towards the end of the year, and that's why sales were not quite as strong at the end of the year, but still it was a terrific year. But we didn't really focus on making money so much as we focused on our growth. And we were profitable, but we could have been more profitable.
Yeah.
In 2013, we had some legal issues, and the business went the wrong direction. It was our first time of going through such tough times. But what made it so much more difficult was the fact that we were not robust. We did not have a lot of cash. We were not very profitable, even during the very good years that preceded it. And so that really taught us a lesson. And so if you're focused on your business being robust and having nice profitability and conserving cash, then if you come through tough times, and most businesses end up running through tough times at some point, it's just a lot easier to get through them.
So what do you do, David, to become more profitable? Like, I know some people, like e-commerce, will maybe eliminate SKUs, or I'm not sure. What do you do now that you know that? Someone's listening, like, okay, what do I do next?
Okay,
what do you focus on?
Every business is, of course, a little bit different, but assuming that you're a business that sells product, then you got a few main numbers in your income statement. The first one is sales. Everybody looks at it, and you still need to look at sales and ramping up your sales. The next one is your cost of goods, and then gross margin. And so you got to look at your cost of goods and say, what can I do to increase my gross margin? So it would either be in the cost of goods or in the sales dollars. One of the things that we did is raise prices, for example.
Yeah.
And so if I sell an item for $100 and makes a $50 profit, gross profit, not net profit, and then I raise it to $120, I'm now making $70 profit, which is a much greater percent than the 50% that I was making before. And so the focus is not just on the greater percent, but on greater gross margin dollars. So there may be an opportunity to sell product at a lower margin, but if it's a new sale, if it's a sale in a different vertical maybe, then it's still worth doing, even though it will take your percent down, because it would give you more gross margin dollars. You can spend dollars, you cannot spend percents.
Right.
And then the next thing is looking through your financial statement and with your team. This is a group effort. This is not a one-man show. Look for areas where you can cut cost and find those areas and control them. And the last thing, I don't know if it's the last thing, but one of the key things is where is your greatest cost? In most businesses, it's payroll. Your payroll is typically your number one or two biggest cost.
Right.
And you don't want to fire anybody, and you definitely don't want to fire any good people. But you can create a concept called a salary cap. You're looking at your net margin, and you say, I need to make 10% net margin. After everything's said and done, I want to make 10%. And so based on your normal cost, you can now build a salary cap number for your payroll, for your total payroll. And that creates something that you measure against, and you can show it to your employees and your management team and say, okay, this is our salary cap. Right now we're a little bit above the cap. We got to build a business so we are below the cap with the same amount of people. We got to build a business and grow our sales, grow our gross margins so that we can give raises and hire more people. And once people understand that, you have a controlled, not a controlled, but you have an environment where everybody speaks the same language and works towards the same goal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. You were talking a little bit about this off camera, about how important it is for the team, not just you to be improving and learning, but the team to be improving and learning. What have you learned as far as leadership goes, as because you go into business as just you and you're selling product, and now you have a team of staff. What have you learned that's worked as far as leading a team?
So first of all, the main thing is that you don't have to be, and you normally are not the smartest guy in the room. Right. There's other people that are better than you, especially in their respective areas, and if they're not better than you, then you're not hiring right. And the first key is to hire the best kind of people you can. And everybody says that it's important, but for entrepreneurs that want to scale their business, they have to recognize there are areas they're not great at. And in those areas, especially in those areas, you have to bring people that are better than you. And should you coach them and help them? Absolutely. But you have to know that that's their skill set and they're better than you. And so as you're describing what needs to be accomplished, you have to let them accomplish it their way and not dig into their details and keep one to even just get consistent reports from them. If they're key people, typically they would feel micromanaged and not feel like they have a chance to flourish and really kind of run their own shit. Yeah. And so
give them some freedom.
Yeah, give them freedom. Let them operate. Let them create. Let them be smart. Let them grow. Let them have their own little kingdom and create their own success. And as a result, your business succeeds.
Yeah. One thing when I do research about you and your companies is interesting is you don't just sit and, okay, this overstock art thing, we're just going to run with it. You've innovated. Okay, you started the web property, artistb.com. I was reading you've tested mobile apps. What has worked with the innovation? What did you find hasn't worked? Because you're always testing and trying new things. Sure.
So the artistb.com platform that we created, it's extremely exciting, and we're very excited about the possibilities of that platform, and we love the ability of offering artists from all over the world the opportunity to create their own online galleries, to offer their art. It worked really, really well for us because it gave us access to just this amazing talent and it's amazing art that's timely, that's now, that's current, that we can now offer to our customers. So that's something that really worked well for us.
Yeah. How did you get the idea to do that?
You know what? My brother really kind of took the horse by the hand on this one and took care of it. He's in charge of our technology. And he was meeting with some friends. He lives and works from Israel. He was meeting with some friends that are artists, and they were talking about being able to offer art in the American market, and an idea was born. And so he really started building the site a little bit on his own. He's a technology guy, and then we invested some money in it and really built the site. And it's been in the works for a long time, and it was just such an exciting thing for us when we started talking about it.
Yeah, it's great. It's like featuring up and coming, or like you said, unknown artists, for them to actually get the word out and sell their art.
Yeah, and what's cool about this is that it's really a great way for them to offer their art to the world. And it's a great way for collectors to find art that they would have never been exposed to. And so it's just, if you're an artist somewhere in Kansas, where we're located, you now have a market in California and New York and places like that would be difficult for you to get to.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of, you're almost stuck to, like, you go to these summer, I don't know, you go, those street fairs. I mean, a lot of those people probably, their traditional route is you go, you put up your stuff, and whoever comes to the street fair and buys your works, that's what you're stuck with, right?
Yeah. And so this kind of opens the market, and it's a very interesting. We've learned a lot, and there's a lot of work there, but we're very excited about that brand. Another piece of innovation that we created is supply chain software that we built. I talked a little bit about the complexity of hand-painted oil painting and dealing with that product line. Yeah. So we built a whole supply chain around it. The supply chain does things like quality control. Our product is completely handmade. So the artist starts with a blank canvas and then paints. And so if you don't watch out for quality, then the result's going to be really bad. You're slowly going to degrade. And customers are coming to us because of quality, because if you just wanted a cheap work of art, you go to Walmart or someplace like this and you buy something for $29. So it was a key for us to really maintain quality. So that's something we built into the supply chain solution. And then we also built a demand planning algorithm that tells us how many paintings to manufacture, to paint, that is, how many paintings to hold at vendor side, how many paintings to bring in on shipment. It also does the same thing with our framing. But the framing is really an easier product. The art's really a difficult product from a supply chain standpoint. So we felt like we had really good innovation there.
And it's moving parts.
Yeah, and it's been a huge part of our business. Everybody in the business touches that software. So really a lot of moving.
David, I want you to talk a little bit about the Israeli culture versus U.S. Because you're from Israel, your brother, obviously, a branch of this business is in Israel. What are some of the differences?
Israeli culture is a little loud. It's very direct, and it's aggressive and innovative. That's very Israeli, right? Not so much paying attention to necessarily what is the direction or the orders, kind of just going and doing and getting stuff done and being a little aggressive. U.S. culture is different, and especially in Kansas. The United States is such a large country compared to Israel, which is tiny. So the culture in Kansas is a little more relaxed. And more polite, quieter. I don't think we've had a lot of clashes in that culture, in the cultures, so to speak. But we do get it sometimes, especially when my brother Amitai, when he communicates with some people from internally, his tone, even in an email, can sometimes kind of create a little bit of waves and things that were not intended. It was just, this is how we talk in Israel.
It's very direct. Yeah,
it's just a more direct. It's not as polite, and Interesting story. I made an experiment one time. I was with my wife, and we were at a bank in Israel, and she does not speak Hebrew. She's American, and we hear the clerk speaking with somebody. It was a customer on the phone, and I asked her, "So what do you think? Is he rude? Is he nice?" She's like, "Oh, he's rude. He's yelling." He was nice. He was cordial. He was joking. Now she doesn't understand the language, of course, but this is the tone. Even the body
from an
language.
outside observer, it's like it seems like the person was yelling.
Yeah. And so those things are different, but we work through it. It's not so difficult. Yeah. We do have vendors from all over the world, and so we're used to working with multiple cultures.
What was it like growing up in Israel?
It was awesome. I grew up in a kibbutz. Yeah, kibbutz.
Yeah.
So it's a rural community. There were maybe 1,000 people in the kibbutz. It was just a great way to grow up. I was in a boarding school basically since I was a baby. And so you grow up with your friends, so you have a large group of brothers and sisters. And it's very, very different than like the capitalistic society of the United States.
It's more of a communal living. So to
it's
speak,
communal.
right?
It's socialistic, really. It's everybody for everybody. At the time, because things have changed a lot there too. But at the time, we were all families had the same amount of money. It's pretty much the same thing. All kids were dressed in pretty much the same clothes. It was all very, very similar, very even, very equal. But it was great for a kid. I had a blast growing up.
So what brought you to the U.S. then?
I went to high school. So my father's company had a project in the Boston area. And so in my junior and senior years, I did in the United States. And so I graduated from a U.S. high school. It made it a little bit difficult to get into college in Israel. So we decided to go to college in the United States. And then I got married and stayed.
But you went back, right, for the Army?
I did. So after the high school, I went back and I did 3 years in the military. I was part of the time with the patrol unit. I spent my entire 3 years in the Golan Heights on the Syrian border, partly with the patrol unit and then with the border unit. And not everybody is made to be a soldier. I didn't really like it.
That seems like a pretty hostile place to be.
It was just, at the time, it was actually a quiet border. It was just, the risk of war was always there, but it was actually a quiet border. But I wanted to be a professional ball player. I did not want to be a soldier.
Baseball?
In the fence. I grew up playing volleyball.
Oh, volleyball. Okay.
Yeah. And so it wasn't the thing for me, but it's compulsory and it's necessary, and so you do what you have to do.
You didn't have to go back and do that, did you? You just chose to go back and serve.
Well, my family went back. I could have stayed away from it, but it wouldn't have been the right thing to do at all, and it wasn't even a thought. We were.
So do you have any crazy Army stories?
No, not really.
No?
It was pretty calm for me. It wasn't, yeah.
Top secret. I get it. And I was reading something. Did you do something with Bravo at one point?
We did, yeah. We were working with a company called Magical Elves, and they created a show with Bravo. The show was, what was it? The Next Generation Artist, something like that. It was a reality TV show about these artists that were competing, and every week they presented a certain work of art based on certain parameters, and somebody won, and whoever got the most points got to go to a big show, a big event. And we contracted with them to sell reproductions. So at the end of every show, we would offer this show's reproductions, and we also offer older shows. So at the end of every show, we would have new product being offered. It was an interesting process. It was in a year where everything worked great, but we really projected sales to be a lot higher than what they actually were with the Bravo deal.
You think it was just viewership wasn't as large, or what do you think the reason?
I don't know exactly, but it was tough to get. It was tough to advertise that there were so many restrictions on what we could say, what we couldn't say. They weren't willing to really give us a good plug on TV to promote it, and so not that many knew about it.
They didn't know where to find it, essentially.
Yeah, it was
a lot of red tape, probably.
Yeah, the other side of it is what they wanted. They wanted for the show. They wanted art that was a little edgy and a little aggressive sometimes.
It's not like a mass
some
market
sexual
type
innuendos and
yeah.
things that people may not want to put in their homes, and so that we're selling.
It doesn't mix with like the mass market, right?
Yeah, did not have the mass market appeal. A few pieces sold regularly, but majority was not really going very good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting though. How did that come about? That deal.
You know what? They found us online, and then we competed with a few other companies, and they chose us. We worked hard for it. We really wanted it, maybe more than others, and agreed to what they wanted. And I think we had a good process going. It just wasn't marketed so well.
Yeah. What David, you manage across different offices. What are the different functions of the offices? Like, are some for product, some for management?
You mean offices in our company?
Yeah,
or
in your company. Yeah.
Okay. So we have an area in our offices that's for sales, and over there we have people that work with our channel partners, which is other retailers that carry our product, and then people that work with business customers. So this could be hospitality or something like that. And then our bread and butter website sales on our website. That area is kind of devoted to generating business, so to speak. Then we've got an area of operations, and we look at operations kind of cradle to grave. So our operations manager is in charge of all the way from purchasing the product to after fulfillment support. So customer service, returns, all these pieces.
Yeah.
Then we have an area of production. Our production area in charge of all inventory, order fulfillment, frame shop. We have a full frame shop where we chop and join frames to make make the art. And then we have admin, which is accounting, financial, communication, IT, those kind of things.
Yeah, so it started just you and branched off into everything else.
Pretty much, just me. Actually, me and my wife is who started, and my wife was the first full-time employee. I actually owned a different company at the time, and so I would work in the evenings. So the other company was quite a bit larger at the time, and I was the president of that company, and so I would work all day, doing sales, doing this, doing that. And then I would come home and stretch paintings with a plier.
Wow.
But we started from home, and upstairs was the office. Downstairs we had kind of a spare room in the basement, and that was our warehouse, and all fulfillment was there. It was tiny, we didn't have a lot of money. We invested what we had and started talking to a few people and found some vendors and started buying product and, just kind of working it and doing everything that needs to be done. And we decided that we're going to move to another location after the first year. Just felt like we haven't generated enough business, have enough stability to be able to do that, and felt that it's necessary for business growth. As we finished our first year of business, we had nice profit because we have very little expenses, and we just put everything back in the company. We did not take anything. The only thing I told my wife that we get to the business will buy for us was a hose for our backyard.
That's not a fair deal. Why a hose?
Well, it's important, especially at the early stages of the business, if you're at a place where you can, to really conserve your resources and invest in the business's growth, because we were very tiny, and if we would not have invested back into the business, and I don't know that we would have been able to grow.
Yeah. You have to reinvest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I always ask with Inspired Insider, David, that what's been a low or challenging moment, and then on the flip side, what's been a proud moment? What's been a low or challenging moment that you had to push through?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. First one came in 2009. There were others along the way, but this is just a really significant one. And in 2009, economy was very rough. We finished 2008 with about a 30% growth or so, but most of it came early. The fourth quarter was flat. Which is difficult for a company like ours that was used to 30% growth or so. And then 2009 started flat and then was going the wrong direction. By June, we were down year over year for the very first time, and June was a horrible month. And we lost money. And we did not have a lot of depth to be able to handle much losses. So we was very tight. And I remember talking with my brother in July and saying, we need to do something different. We can go raise capital maybe, but we're just going to dig a deeper hole. What can we do to do things differently? But we had this meeting and decided to just kind of double down, increase our marketing, increase our discounts. Be more aggressive with our offers and the number of communications that we have with our customers. And I'm going to back up just a little bit because I neglected to mention the detail. In 2008, in about the summer of 2008, the person that we were working with a lot at the time told me, listen, let's cut our prices down to the very lowest price we can. And I told him why. He said, well, the economic thing is coming, and it's going to hit, and it's going to hit hard, and you just need to have a cheap price. And so I told him, well, let me think about it before we make any kind of a move. Let me just think about it for a little bit. So a couple of days go by, and I was reading a book by Dan Ariely. It's called Predictably Irrational.
It's one of my favorites. Yep.
All right.
I listen to it every year, Predictably Irrational, yeah. He's also Israeli, I believe, right?
He is.
Fantastic book. Yeah.
I'm sorry, say it again?
Fantastic book.
Yeah, a fantastic author. A very, very bright man. And the one thing that became obvious to me through reading the book is that one of the ways customers judge our quality is our price. And so what happens is if we cut our price, something that was $100 now is offered at $50, Susie Homemaker or what have you say, well, listen, this is the bad one, the cheap one. I want the good one. I'll pay more. So I told him, instead of lowering our price, why don't we raise it? And so he's looking at me and is like, are you crazy? And I told him, well, this is what we'll do. We'll raise the price, but we'll give them a bigger discount. That way, not only is the quality great, the price is high, quality is great, they're getting a deal today.
Right.
And that saved our fourth quarter, I think, but it also allowed us in 2009 to say, let's go more aggressive.
Yeah.
And so we did, and we turned the corner in the middle of July. July was still a bad month, but the second half was a lot better than the first. But what happened the rest of the year was amazing. Our sales just skyrocketed. We had 50, 60% growth, very profitable in the second half of 2009. Excuse me. We ended up at about 30% growth year over year because of the earlier months that were not profitable, no growth at all, and all that kind of stuff. But that really helped us. We moved to a larger place. I moved full-time to the company. I sold my share in the other company. I actually decided to sell my share in the other company in the midst of the recession, before we turned the corner. I decided that I have to focus on one. I cannot do both anymore. And so it was a difficult decision.
That's
because
a hard
you're
decision.
putting, your livelihood's at risk, and I have a family and all that. But I just felt like it's the right thing to do. I talked to a few advisors, a few people that I respect, and I just said, well, what do you think? And, burn the boats is one of the things that I kind of heard from a few people, and so you kind of got to decide, and I felt that was the right thing to do. And that was a low moment that we really kind of turned the corner on.
Yeah.
The other one was in 2013, and I alluded to it earlier. In 2013, we were very, very low on inventory because 2012 was so strong. And then we had a copyrights claim that took about half of the remaining inventory off of our site.
Wow.
And so we were down to almost nothing in stock. We were losing money. Our sales were going the wrong direction. Our profit was going the wrong direction. The few errors that we've had, we did not have good bookkeeping at the time, so we did not know how much we're losing until much later. For example, in February of 2013, I looked at our financials and I saw a profit of $20,000, and I'm saying, it's not what I wanted, but okay, it's a black number, right? It's positive.
Right.
Well, I looked a couple of months later, and it's a loss of $20,000. That's a $40,000 swing.
Yeah.
So we were in a bad shape, and I had to put more money into the company, and it was a difficult time for us on a number of different levels. Sometimes what people do when they're hit with so much stress and so much challenge is they react. They just, okay, let's reduce prices. Let's increase marketing. Let's do these big discounts. Let's do something. Let's get something done. Let's call customers. There is this reaction by entrepreneurs because we're conditioned for action, right? This is why we created a business, right? And so the initial reaction is, let's get it done, let's do something. And so actually, thanks to a strategic coach to a large degree, I decided to take time and think about things and not just react. And so I would go away from the office for a whole day and spend time just different options for growth, different options to improve profitability, different options for this. Just kick around ideas. A lot of times by myself, sometimes with others, at least for part of the day. and come up with some solutions. For example, we were buying a lot of inventory because we had to replenish from 2012 and such, and so inventory takes cash. So how can you have the same availability with less inventory? So we came to our vendors and said, hey, listen, we want to work with you, but we need some payment terms. And also what we need is for you to hold some product in stock for us in your facility. And then we will pull it, and we'll guarantee that we'll pull in 90 days. And this is an agreement that doesn't happen in our industry. Nobody does it. We're the only ones that have this relationship with our vendors. And so it's things like that we've done. The supply chain algorithm came at that time. These are things that we've done because we didn't just react. We took time to think about what are the best courses of action. The human condition is such that when you're under stress, it's almost like your body's thinking there is a tiger at the other side of the room and you got to react now. But in modern world, it's usually not a tiger. It's something that will happen in a month or 2 or 3 or even a week or 2. You have time to think before you react. And doing that really, really saved us, because who knows what we would have done, you know. And we built so many solutions. We became a much, much better company, a much better run company, and positioned ourselves for growth so much better than what we had before. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that sympathetic nervous system wants to kick in the fight and flight, you know, wants to, it's like an animal's attacking, but it's not.
Exactly.
And I remember that exact story in Predictably Irrational. I think I know what you're talking about. It's where they told the clerk to cut the prices in half, and by accident they doubled the prices, right? Yeah. And they came back and sold the inventory double the price. Yeah, such a good story. So on the flip side, thanks for sharing that, David. That's like entrepreneur therapy to hear that. So because I'm sure everyone can relate to that. What about on the flip side and the proud moments?
It's funny, but I think the proudest moments are when we just, and it's going to sound a little normal, but to me a proud moment is to come in the morning on Monday morning. I like Monday mornings, and just see that we had a good weekend on our retail side. That's a great moment. It's just seeing the concept at work. I do a morning meeting with different people in the office. We do it all over the company, but I do it in the morning with my production team and usually a customer service team, and just seeing everybody Monday morning excited for the week. That's a proud moment for me. These are simple things, but this is what makes the company go around. You know, we like to do things for the company together. So we did a dinner, for example, just a couple of months ago. Took everybody to a nice kind of a fancy restaurant here in town, and just seeing the company together, seeing everybody have a good time, drink a couple of glasses of wine or beer or whatever. Those are proud moments. Those are great moments. They're like proof of concept, if it makes sense. You know, you had this concept in your mind, you know, in when you started the business, and the concept was never just you working from home packaging paintings. The concept was to grow the company and have people around. And so those are the moments when we're together and when we're talking about these things that are very proud for me and exciting. And so it's simple. It's not fancy. It's not.
Is a milestone though that you're especially proud of with the company?
I think a milestone was when we turned things around in 2014. After 2013 being so tough, 2014 being actually back to being our best year ever. 2015 was better than that. 2016 was flat with 15 from a sales standpoint, but profitability was off the charts better. So being able to take the ideas and the things that we've developed and actually implement them and actually see growth again after growth not being there, that was a kind of a momentous occasion for us. Another time was when we launched a completely new platform for our website.
What were you on before, and what are you on now?
Before we were on a Yahoo Store platform. And in 2015 is when we launched it. We launched the new platform. It's an open cart platform. So we manage our own server.
That's a big decision.
Yeah, it's a big decision. It's a lot of work. It's quite a bit of money too. But I tell you what was a big decision. So in September of 2015, our site is, say, 90% ready. But it's been 90% ready for 6 months.
Right.
And we're like, okay, what do we do? We got to launch it, because if we don't launch it now, it's not till January. But if we launch it, it's not fully ready. And we just sat down and kind of ran through positive, negative, and say, okay, let's go, let's do it, let's see what happens. And, sure enough, sales dropped at first. That wasn't fun.
I'd be scared. I would be really scared, actually.
It was
even if it was
100%,
right. Even if you told me it was 100% ready, I would still be scared, because anytime you switch, something's going to go wrong.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So if you pull it over your head, your feet are exposed. If you put it on your feet, your head's exposed. That's kind of how it was. We would improve this, then this, and it kept on going like this. We were at 90%, and we couldn't get past it. And the original designers that we had on it, they got it to about 90%, and then we couldn't get them to work at it anymore. And it was a mess, and we were fighting with it. And right or wrong, by the way, we decided to just do it, and we launched the site, and we had a drop, but we corrected it within a couple of months. We had a decent holiday season. Not as great as we wanted it to be, but it was decent for sure. And it was a little higher than the year before. And we started seeing some growth in 2016, year over year. That was pretty nice.
Yeah.
And the new platform is miles ahead of the old platform. There is the level of technology that we have and can use is completely different. The Yahoo Store technology, we had to build a lot of tools around the cart, not within the cart. And also the number of programmers, developers that we could use to develop on that platform was very limited. And so we were able to do so much more with the new platform.
Yeah.
And that was an exciting thing.
Dude, first of all, I want to be the first one to thank you so much for taking the time, and I want to point people towards overstockart.com or artistbe, that's artistbe.com, and just thank you for sharing the stories. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Right.
My pleasure. I had a blast. Thanks, Jeremy.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like $100 grand.